everybody. Here we are again in Saudi Arabia. Once again, AJ, a big underdog. Once again. This is a different type of task though, isn't it, this time around?
Yeah, I mean, look, Andy Ruiz, great fighter. We know the problems he had in camp, AJ, the poor performance really in the fight, and now you're talking about pound for pound number one in Alexander Usyk. You know, you're not talking about a guy that you should be beating 9 times out of 10, who was Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
You're talking about a guy that, you know, was a 50-50 in the first fight, and now you're the underdog. So it's going to be a great fight, you know, and any time you fight someone with the ability and levels of Alexander Usyk, it's going to be a challenge, but he's in a great place. You know, you hear all the time, I've had a good camp, I'm in a good place. I don't think he was in a great place for the first fight, not physically.
Yeah.
I just think he was second guessing himself. And I think sometimes when you fight Alexander Usyk, you get a little bit taken away by the wizardry and everyone talking about what he does so well. And I remember when Tony Bellew boxed him, you know, after 6 rounds, Bellew was winning the fight, said, I was just drained. Yeah. I was concentrating so hard. I was looking at his feet. And there's a lot of unknowns when you go into the ring with Usyk. The fact that AJ spent the 12 rounds in there with him doesn't mean he wins this time, but it's a lot easier to digest information and process that information to know that, yeah, I put my feet here, I got pinged with a right hand down the middle, and, you know, et cetera, et cetera. So I like the fact that he's experienced that. He's got to adapt in this fight. Robert Garcia is going to play a key role in the corner for sure, but he's ready. He's ready, and he's putting a lot of pressure on himself to win, which I like.
You've worked with AJ from the get-go, right? 9 years, soon to be 10 years. Talk to me about his mentality, not from the get-go, but from last year to this year. That's what people question, AJ's mentality. Does he need to get stronger up there? You know more than anyone.
I think with AJ, he's an intelligent guy. You can't bluff him, right? So when he believes in something, when he's comfortable with something, when he understands, talk about process information and like understand the game plan, he's very good at executing that game plan. Go back to Ruiz too. He had to box in a style that he'd never boxed in before to win every round of that fight. Did it really well. I think in the first fight, you know, I remember having a conversation with him on the Friday, the day of the weigh-in, and he was like, yeah, you know, I'm going to box him, and, you know, we got the first 6 rounds, and I'm thinking, no, mate, you know, in fact, I'd like it over within those first 6 rounds. Or you have to put enough damage on Usyk that he doesn't get into his rhythm. Yeah. His mindset's good. Like I said, boxing's about hunger, it's about desire. I always find it fascinating when you look at these guys who come from very humble beginnings, get everything they ever dreamed of, yet still have to be the same person to go in there and fight for a living, you know? And being a fighter is a mindset that not many have. It's a very brutal, dangerous sport, but it's a sport full of warriors. And I always look at AJ and look at Canelo Alvarez and think, you know, Canelo Alvarez used to sell popsicles on a street in Guadalajara. Used to dream when you started boxing of having all these belts and all this money and these houses and getting out of where you came from ultimately. And you've done all that. You've become one of the biggest stars in sport, but you still want to win so bad. You're still prepared to go in there and take shots and do the hard spars. They're special people, they're winners. And AJ's one of those people, you know? So the desire's still there. And for him, it's always been about the competition. It's about the sport. So this week, yes, it's the Unified World Heavyweight Championship. Yes, the Ring Magazine title's on the line. Honestly, he just wants to beat Alexander Usyk because he beat him last time. And I remember the day after the fight, I went to meet AJ after the Usyk fight, and he was angry, you know, really. And I love to see that, you know. It wasn't like, oh, I don't know if I've got it anymore, or if I want it anymore. It was like, it was frustration, it was anger, it was, you know, an order from him to order this immediate rematch and, you know, and activate that rematch clause. And I like what I see because you need that hunger, and he's going to have to fight with that ferocity on Saturday. He can't go in there and just fence off with Usyk and let him get to 6-7 rounds and like we did last time. From the get-go, it's got to be educated pressure. Yeah. But he's got to hurt him. He's got to dent him. You know, He's got to hit him to the body, the arms. He's got to make Usyk feel uncomfortable. Yeah. And like I said, by the time that bell rings at the end of the 6th round, I want the fight over, or I want Usyk going back to his stall going, I don't like this. I'm not enjoying this. My ribs are hurting. Yeah. I don't feel great.
Yeah. He's got to know he's the bigger, stronger guy, doesn't he? One thing I have seen with AJ, normally AJ's quite friendly at press conferences, right? He's not an angry man. He can switch it on. This time, though, there's no smiles anymore. That's gone. I remember the first press conference when they fought back last year. There was a lot of smiles, a lot almost handshakes, a couple of cuddles and selfies. That's all changed now. It's almost like he's realized, I have to get into killer mode. Pardon the phrase, he has to get into killer mode, and I feel like he's in that mode.
He is, and that's actually, you've spotted that well, because he hasn't even been that friendly to me and the team. It's but I think he doesn't want to. It's always been the AJ Roadshow. We've been turning up at these venues, selling them out. It's AJ, ring walks, appearances, fans. And I think he's got to a point now where he's gone, do you know what? I'm leaving all that behind. Because for this fight, I have to win. And I think that you're seeing a different spite. In this fight, you're seeing a different spite from Anthony Joshua. But he knows he has to be that guy. Yeah. So he's telling himself as well. I ain't talking to, I'm not interested in small talk. Right. Get me in there and let me at him, and that's the mentality he needs.
I want to quickly talk about AJ overall. Like, when you signed him, what were your biggest dreams? Like, what did you really think this could be? I mean, you signed a big, strong heavyweight, Olympic gold medalist. There's no way. I know that you will forecast things, but there's no way you thought it could be this. Like, selling out stadiums.
Yeah, no. I mean, the answer is
back.
No, we never thought this would happen, but we did feel like we had a gem. We felt like, I mean, look, firstly, he won the Olympic gold in London. Right? So that's a great start.
Already, wasn't
then
it?
You look at the guy and you think, you look like, you're carved out of stone. You're handsome. You talk well. This is too good to be true. But I used to look at the amateur resume and think, wow, this guy had like 40 fights. He won ABAs. He won silver in the world. Should have actually been a gold. Won Olympic gold medal in 43 fights. Right? So, then going into the pros, he was very raw. And this is what I keep saying to people. People saying about, do you think he'll retire if he loses? Honestly, he's in the prime of his career. People talk about the change in AJ. When you just understand what boxing's about, he'd probably come off that Klitschko fight and thought, 4 or 5 of them, I ain't going to be in this game long. That's true. He just got a bit smarter and didn't want to get hit as much, or felt like
We've
he
seen
wanted
that
to prolong.
with heavyweight, sort of Klitschko, Lennox Lewis.
It's natural. You learn about the game. Boxing's about hitting and not getting hit. Not going in there and just chin up in the air and trading away. You're going to get knocked out, and you're going to also have a short career. So the run that he's been on, the one thing that frustrates me is when you get an athlete that goes to those levels, some people feel that like it's manufactured. Some people feel that Matchroom or Sky at the time and now DAZN are sort of building this guy up, but he's not real. He's not the guy that gets in there and takes the biggest test. He is. In his 16th fight, don't forget, in his 15th fight, having really fought no one, he jumped in with Dillian Whyte, which was a brilliant battle at the O2 to win the British heavyweight title.
Fight.
Next fight, he fought Charles Martin for the world title. Now, people look back now because of the 2-round demolitions, like, that was an easy win. He was 32-0 with 30 knockouts at the time, Charles Martin, and he was well regarded in America. Anyway, knocked him out, then Brazil, then Molina. Then in his 19th fight, he jumps in with Klitschko at Wembley in front of 90,000 people. 19th heavyweight fight.
That's great. When you
As
think
one of
about
the greatest fights of all time.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Then he has to fight Pulev in a mandatory. A week before, it's Takam, who was on good form then as a mandatory. Then unifies in front of 80,000 against Joseph Parker, right, in his 21st fight. Then goes off, fights Povetkin in a mandatory. Then fights Ruiz at Madison Square Garden. Then rematches Ruiz in Saudi Arabia. Then fights Pulev in a mandatory. Then fights Alexander Usyk in front of 70,000, loses. Then goes back to this is with nothing in the middle.
Yeah, there's no gimmies in there.
And the worst thing is like he deserved some gimmies. And we always used to laugh about it. He never really wanted them, but he would joke to me sometimes, go, Jesus, Ed. Like, I remember when he boxed Povetkin, he was like, any chance of it? Like, I've got to fight, Parker, Klitschko, Povetkin, all these guys. But he's proud of his resume. We should really champion his resume. And if he beats Usyk this weekend, which I believe he would, he will go down as one of the heavyweight greats.
I agree with that statement, by the way.
So we should champion the fact that this guy that doesn't need to fight these guys because of the profile that he's built, chose to fight them. And wants to fight them, and isn't afraid to lose, not protecting an O, just wants the experiences, wants the respect, and wants the resume. So let's give him that respect.
Is he fighting the pound for pound number one on the weekend?
At the moment, yes. I mean, you've got some great fighters. I still feel like Canelo Alvarez, it's hard to take you off pound for pound number one when you've stepped up to a weight class you shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
But he lost. Yeah. So you should step back
a couple of steps back.
And at the end of the day, Usyk was the undisputed cruiserweight champion. He beat all the champions, moved up to heavyweight, beat Chisora, beat AJ. I mean, across the board, across the resume, he's the pound for pound number one. But so many, look, you got Crawford, you got Spence, you got all these other fighters. But for me, right now, he's the pound for pound number one. And if AJ wins, I'm not saying you should be elevated to pound for pound number one. No, he's got to jump in the pound for pound.
He's got to go on the list.
Without doubt.
100%.
That would mean a lot to him.
Yeah, 100%. Ring Magazine belt's on the line, as you said. A certain Tyson Fury has vacated that. He says he's retired. He comes out of retirement if AJ wins, doesn't he? Fact.
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, that fight's not just the biggest fight in British boxing history. It's probably the biggest fight in boxing history.
Yeah.
It's up there with the Thriller in Manila and the Rumble in the Jungle. It's the undisputed heavyweight world championship, and he'll be back for that fight. He won't fight Usyk. Yeah. He had the chance, and he wasn't interested in that fight. But he believes he can beat Anthony Joshua. And if AJ wins on Saturday, I truly believe you'll see that fight next.
Quick word about some of the fights on the undercard as well. We're here at the Saudi Boxing Federation at Ramla Ali, which is incredible, by the way. This setup, I guess, is what we wanted when DAZN Matchroom said, okay, we're all going to Saudi to see the growth of not just boxing, but female boxing.
It's good to see things firsthand. We get a criticism for bringing major events to Saudi, as all rights holders do. But I've seen so much change. Forget the Saudi Boxing Federation, just being out in Jeddah, massive change over the last 3 years. And when you come here, don't forget on the card this weekend, the first ever female professional bout with Ramla Ali. She's got 40 females here today who want to get into boxing or are already boxing. It's amazing to see. Yeah. And it shows you the growth. Participation here at grassroots level up over 300%. They're investing heavily into the sport, into the grassroots, and that's really important for us as well, coming here. So it's amazing to see.
Callum Smith as well, WBC final eliminator.
Yeah.
He wants the Beterbiev fight.
He does.
He's I want it next.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's back to Saudi where he beat George Groves to win the World Boxing Super Series. Two big final eliminators on this card. Callum Smith against Border Elite, 1v2. Callum Smith gets a shot at Beterbiev if he can win this fight, which would be a tremendous fight between those two. And Filip Hrgovic against Big Bang Zhang Zhilei from China. I'll tell you, don't blink in that fight. Someone's getting sparked clean out. And it could be even man. Zhang is very dangerous early. As the fight goes on, he's getting on, and Hrgovic is very good. But the winner of that fight will be mandatory to the winner of Usyk against Joshua. So lots to play for.
Is it and the new on Saturday?
I really believe so. I hope so badly. We're out here to promote this fight, but it's a personal mission.
Yeah.
I want to feel like the B-side. I want AJ to feel like the challenger in this fight.
Yeah.
Like he has nothing. Like when he walks into that ring, just have a look across the other corner and see all that gold there glistening, and know that you're one punch away, or one dominant round, or one great performance away from recapturing all those belts and becoming a 3-time world heavyweight champion.
Eddie, before we let you go, a couple of really big fight cards coming up. September 17th first, Canelo versus GGG. The spice between those two.
I mean, fight week's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
September 17th, top to bottom, the best card I think we've ever done. It's one of the biggest nights we've been involved with in boxing. Las Vegas is going to be absolutely bouncing. I've never seen Canelo Alvarez like this before. He's training like a monster, and so is Gennady Golovkin.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now, these two are going to meet in the middle of that ring at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, and they are going to go to war. Canelo Alvarez said to me and the media, I will not be happy unless I'm standing over this man having finished his career. Gennady Golovkin didn't say too much at the presser and then does interviews and says a lot.
Yeah.
I want these two going at it on fight week.
Yeah.
We need to bring the truth out. Gennady Golovkin can't stand Canelo Alvarez, and Canelo Alvarez cannot stand Gennady Golovkin. They have one thing in their mind, and that's to knock each other out. You will see the best of the 3 fights in a trilogy on September 17th live on DAZN pay-per-view.
And finally, another big one live on DAZN pay-per-view. This one's massive. Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr.
Massive.
In fact, when I said that, he said I had a Chris Eubank Jr. versus Conor Benn. He made sure he corrected me. Huge. Could have done a stadium.
I mean,
O2 Arena.
I could have done 3 stadiums, but
really,
O2 Arena is a bear pit. It's a great place for this fight. Mate, this fight, when I announced this fight, I knew this was huge. To bring Eubank Jr. against Benn to DAZN is massive for us in the UK. It's massive for the global platform. It's going to do huge numbers, and you are going to see an epic fight. Eubank Jr., great fighter. Conor Benn, a little bulldog. going in there, stepping up the weight classes.
Yeah.
They're going to go at it. The dads are going to get involved. Born rivals, we know. This fight has so much history. It's going to be huge on October the 8th.
Certainly is, and what's going to be huge as well is on Saturday. Don't forget Alexander Usyk versus AJ, unified heavyweight titles. The Ring Magazine trinket is there as well. Just adds a bit more spice to it. Remember, you can catch action live on DAZN.